Do you know someone that is suffering from hypertension, has suffered a stroke, or heart disease? One of the first things that they're gonna do, I'm just kidding, this is not a PSA. All right, for real though, if you know somebody that has a heart attack, has had a stroke, has had high blood pressure, they're typically trying to reduce their sodium intake, and that's totally fine. We'll talk about it. Now, when somebody has had one of these life experiences happening, where they've gone to the doctor and the doctor's like, ooh, you're eating too much salt. One of the big things that they're gonna do is they're gonna try and get rid of the table salt. They're gonna try and just say, well, I hardly add salt at the table. And that's totally fine. You don't have to add salt to the table. In fact, the reality is that most of the sodium that you're already consuming is in the food that you are eating. That's why it's important for you to understand how to read a nutrition facts panel. And if you haven't ever read a nutrition facts label, or you've been walking through the grocery store and you like pick up the thing and you're like, oh, I don't even know what I'm looking at, and then you just throw it in your cart anyway, then go ahead and go back and check out my other video where I'm talking about how to understand what is on a nutrition facts panel. Serving sizes, the amounts, calories, like all that jazz. There's a video. I'll try and put a link up here. If there's not one there, there'll definitely be one in the show notes. So while it can be helpful to remove salt from the table or to add less salt when you're cooking, the reality is that it's important for you to understand that a lot of things that we eat already has a salt in it. So the American Heart Association came out with the Salty 6, and they update it every once in a while. And I'll add this graphic here. So in this graphic, you can see that it is telling you what are the saltiest foods that we consume as Americans. And the reality is that bread is going to be one of the highest contributors. So the bread that you eat at Subway could have more sodium in it or more salt in it than the bag of chips that you're eating, even though the chips taste saltier. The salt's gonna be on the top of that chip, but the bread, it's just part of the process of making that bread. Now, not all breads are created equal. So understanding that reading a nutrition facts panel is going to be helpful can help you to understand which ones are going to have less salt or more salt. So some of you may go, oh, I'll just only eat wraps. That's fine. Again, pay attention because some wraps have more salt in it than others. Which of these were you not planning on being on the list of the highest salt contributing foods that we as Americans eat? Was it the burritos? Was it the bread? But again, if you know how to cook, you understand that a lot of these things are gonna be the way they are because of the way that they prepare the food. So developing skills in the kitchen is going to be helpful for you. So an easy recommendation is to aim for foods that are gonna have less than 200 milligrams of sodium per serving, right? So remember, pay attention to the serving size and pay attention to how much sodium is going to be in each serving. If you're eating a bag of chips, do you eat the entire bag or do you eat one serving? If you're eating a piece of bread, are you eating one piece of bread, and is one piece of bread one serving? Important to note. That's why you read the nutrition facts panel, right? Right, you got me, right. Another thing you can do is look for the low sodium, reduced sodium, or no sodium options of foods, specifically if they're gonna be canned. Another tip for you, if you will rinse off your canned beans and canned corn and canned vegetables, then you can reduce the sodium that's in that food by up to half. Up to half, y'all. Up to half. That can be big, right? So it's not necessarily big changes or expensive changes, but it's just simple changes. And the more you know. So the recommendation from the CDC in terms of how much sodium we should be getting is gonna be less than 2,300 milligrams of sodium. The average is 3,400. We need less than 2,300. It can be beneficial, it can be done. A lot of it's gonna just have to do with food selection, not necessarily what you have on the table. If you have enjoyed this information, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell button so that you can be notified whenever you're going to be getting the next videos. Remember, eat on, enjoy your life, and enjoy your health. It's important to do all of them. No one just wants to be skinny and miserable, right? I think I get another video idea. And I'll put a link to that Salty 6 down on the bottom too. There'll definitely be one in the show notes. There'll definitely be one in the Definitely be one in the show notes. Definitely be one in the show notes. Definitely be one in the show notes. I smell another video coming on.